I'm sure y'all will find out about it.
Can you speak on your concern about the financing for the 7 adult children that you guys are all what your fears are that we go in the store that we don't see and possibly having currently having for
The oil that is coming out of the riser, the pipes, takes about 2 to 3 hours before it comes to the surface. Oil is lighter than water, than seawater in particular, so it floats at the surface. One of the reasons that we are using the dispersants is to break up that sheet of oil that is at the surface to make it into smaller droplets that can then sink back down and be more easily degraded naturally. The microbes that are in the ocean will naturally degrade oil, but it's hard for them to attack it if it's at the surface and is in a uniform sheet. And so by making it into smaller droplets that can sink down and be more available, it can be broken up more naturally. That is the goal of using the dispersants. And you heard the numbers that Secretary Napolitano said about how much had actually been deployed to date. It's a very active area. There's also experimental use of the dispersant at the source where the oil is coming out with the intent of keeping it from getting to the surface at all. So the ocean will degrade the oil naturally at a faster rate if it's in smaller droplets than at the surface in a uniform mass.
Let me make one observation. I think Dr. Lubchenko will verify this. About 5,000 barrels of oil a week seeps into the Gulf of Mexico naturally. So about 260,000 barrels of oil a year seeps in through the floor of the Gulf of Mexico, and it handles it. I don't understand why. She probably does. So far, this well has leaked at 5,000 barrels a day, has leaked about 80,000 barrels. About a third of what goes into the Gulf naturally anyway. Now, that's on the surface and coming at us, we got to deal with. And it could be a problem, it could be a catastrophe. But let's not forget that the Gulf of Mexico, on its own, without any help from the rest of us, manages to in some way absorb, without most of us ever even knowing it happened, 3 times more oil than has been leaked by this well yet. That's why getting it stopped at this point is very, very, very important. But you shouldn't forget when you're asking about the oil that's on the bottom, there's a bunch of oil on the bottom of the Gulf of Mexico. Ma'am?
The DOJ's been down there doing some monitoring. Is there any possibility of criminal negligence charges to be brought against you?
Well, I think right now my focus is to make sure that the spill is capped, that the oil is kept on the ocean side, that if it comes to the shores, it is cleaned up properly and promptly, and that BP pays for all of that. I have not, and that question you asked is probably more accurately directed to the Department of Justice, but we're fighting this at several areas. We want the oil stopped. We want to be able to kill it on the ocean side, on the ocean surface. We want to keep it from getting to shore, and when it gets to shore, we want to get it cleaned up. And in the end, when this is all over, and this will be a long-time event, I don't think this will be over shortly, but this will be a long-time event. When it's over, in the end, we want BP to pay for all of that.
Sir?
Yeah, the fish closure is for the next 10 days, and we will revise it accordingly, and it is from area to area. But we want to do that, and we had full support of the fishing managers of the region, so that we want to make sure that there's no fish commercially caught that is in any way harmful to human health. but it also want to send a signal that the fish that's being caught outside the immediate area is in fact safe. Because as others have noted, not all of the Gulf Coast is affected, and we want to make sure that the fishing industry continues to thrive, but also supply food for the American public, but in a safe fashion. So we'll be monitoring the fish closure at the end of the 10-day period, and again, it's dynamic. The areas of closure change depending on the movement of the oil. But our number one goal is to ensure the safety of the American public so that they can feel confident that the seafood that they are purchasing or eating is in fact safe and healthy.
Dave, last question.
Secretary Locke, you said all economic hardship plans should currently be directed at BP. Is the government working on any kind of program that ultimately may provide public assistance to those economically impacted?
Well, we want to make sure that BP pays for that, but at the same time, we want to make sure that the federal government is able to step in to bridge that gap if necessary. And so we are making those data assessments, working with the industry, the fishing industry, the food processing industry, hotels, motels, charter boat, anyone and everyone who might be affected, to get that information so that we can supply that to the President and to the members of Congress, so that they can make that policy determination as quickly as possible. That's why we actually started this collection of economic impact on Monday. And we have folks down here throughout the various states working with the governor's office, the local elected officials, the industry, making that economic determination.
Thank you all. As always, Doctor, not to mention that.